Red Sox fall to the Orioles and lose the series, but Masataka Yoshida is still hitting homers.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I want to welcome you back into the Locked On Red Sox podcast, and thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. I am your host, Jake Ignaszewski, and today I am joined by a very special guest. He goes by the name Corbin, and he is the creator of Red Seat Radio over on YouTube. And him and I discuss Game 2 and Game 3 of the Orioles series, preview the Guardian series, and try to look at the positives of this past series against Baltimore. Now let's get into my conversation with Corbin. We are here with Corbin from Red Seat Radio. So how we doing, Corbin?
I'm doing all right. Could have been better. Probably should have been better today, but we're surviving. We're dead even is what we are. We're not good. We're not bad.
Well, especially with the great performance that we saw, in 2 days ago, 8-6 win in Game 2. Nice to see Jarren Duran hit the grand slam. I mean, he's on fire right now, and especially Kluber, what he was able to do, go 6 innings. But I mean, Caleb Ward, allowing that many runs in the 9th inning. Come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah, Caleb's a heart attack waiting to happen at this point. It's tough with the bullpen right now because at the beginning of the season, the bullpen was that was your nail, right? Mm-hmm. You knew that the bullpen was going to be good. And the bullpen up until this point has been good. The problem is those sort of like last spot in the roster type guys, there's no movement with them because you have all these injuries. So it's like, I little sneak peek here for those of you who don't know, I make YouTube videos. And we're recording this before my video comes out. And my video is actually titled The Red Sox Need Consistency, right? And it was amplified in this series because you got one good start, one mediocre start, and then one terrible start. Mm-hmm. And then you had one good bullpen game, one mediocre bullpen game, and one bad bullpen game. And it's just, that's the sort of thing we're seeing so far this season. That's kind of the reason why they're stuck at this 500 mark.
And it's funny because when I had on Gordo a few days ago, him and I talked about the same thing because I said to him about, Chris Sale really reminding me of a lot of the other pitchers in this rotation, specifically Whitlock as well. You don't know what you're going to get from him on a given night. What one night he goes out there, shoves, the next night. It reminds me of the cycle of Eduardo Rodriguez. I always bring this up sort of like with Nick Pivetta. Like he shoves like one outing, does like a 2-hitter, and then he lets up 8 runs like the next outing. But like I agree with you, and that's something especially I think with the rotation you could put the bullpen in there as well. Luckily the offense has been consistent as of late, but it's just that consistency, and I feel like that's the only way that you're going to be able to get consistent W's.
Yeah, it is. And you're going to get W's. You're going to, because the offense has been insane so far this year, right? But the difference is you're not going to be able to go on those crazy win streaks if every 3 days, you get a starter that comes out and does 7 in 3 innings, right? It's just, it's not sustainable over a 162 season because the Red Sox need those. They need a week where they win 7 games in a row. They need a week where they go 5-2 or 5-1, right? And you saw it a little bit with the Angels, but a lot of that was because of the offense. It wasn't really because of the starting pitching.
I agree, and it is going to be very interesting to see the shuffle that could happen when Paxton ultimately does come up. We're probably going to see him pitch on Sunday for the WooSox. Did relatively well in his Tuesday outing. I was at the game and allowed 3 earned runs. Did strike out. I believe it was 5 or 6 batters. Was up at 97 miles per hour. But I think the biggest thing when you look at the rotation is who you're going to pick, Houck or Pivetta, to essentially put in the bullpen.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a battle. I think Paxton's gonna be a little bit off. I think we're gonna see at least 2 more starts from him in the minor leagues. I don't think the Red Sox are gonna rush him back by any means.
Yeah.
So I think Pivetta and Houck. I think Houck got his second to last at least showcase start is what I'll call it, and Pavetta's gonna have 2 as well. And it's sort of just gonna come down to who's been more consistent.
And I think especially with Pivetta at this moment, you already know exactly what you got in him. And, I heard, Tyler and Jared talking about it on the Carabas pod. I think they made a great point of, if this truly is a season where it's a showcase year to see what you have, why not give Houck the chance? You already know what you have in Bavetta. And so he already has that experience in the bullpen. And I think, you point to those two guys immediately because, you saw what Paxton did coming out of the bullpen in Worcester, allowed like 6 earned runs in a point two innings. But I think you got to keep on riding it with Houck to see if he's able to give you some consistency and continue to get better as a starter.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't been anything insane so far this year, but he has been your most consistent starter, right? He's been the starter who's given you a chance to win every single time he's gone on the mound. You really can't say that about anyone else in this rotation right now.
I agree. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And you also put Bello into the equation, especially with him getting demoted a few days ago. I'm curious to see how they go about that. And if we see him come up in a few days for his next round of the rotation. But I think you hit the nail on the head with the consistency, specifically in the rotation, because one thing that has been going around in my mind, and I don't think I've said it yet on the podcast, is I would love to see, even though it's hard to like grasp at this moment in time. But I mean, at the trade deadline, nobody expected Jake Diekman to get traded for how bad he was and how many runs he allowed, especially to blow Red Sox games. And for them to get Reese McGuire and a Taylor Broadway in the trade, and it's looking really good right now. All I'm thinking about is if the Red Sox are able to find a way to offload Kluber for a piece who's really underrated, Boom can work his magic. Like, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be incredible. I would even not throw James Paxton out of that ring either, right? If James Paxton comes up and he's relatively mediocre, in my opinion, that's the biggest candidate in terms of deadline trades, because the Red Sox were pretty, outspoken about not wanting him back, right? He was one of the first people who they did not pick up his option. And you could tell right away that they didn't think that he was going to pick it up. So I could see, especially after you've got, if Houck develops into a solid, even 4 starter, there's not really room for Paxton in this rotation. Obviously, if you're going to sit there and you're going to think between Paxton and Bello, you're not going for division aspirations this season. You got to go Bello. So where does that leave Paxton?
I agree. And, especially the two guys that are up right now, and Manuel Valdez and Brendan Bardino. I think for Valdez, obviously he's just up here filling in for Yu Chang. But Bardino, I mean, he's getting a real shot at being able to show that he deserves to stay in this bullpen. I think especially with the Sox claiming him last week, I was pretty surprised how quickly he got the boot right up, especially because I don't know if you looked at his stats. I mean, he's allowed one more run than he did all last season in AAA. He allowed 11 earned runs this season, and he only allowed 10 last year in 32 innings. And so he's looked very well so far with the Sox, but I'm curious to see, eventually when Paxton comes up and Bello comes up as well, it's going to be a toss-up between Ort and Bardino, or you could even throw Brazier in there too.
Yeah, and you got to remember that Martin's probably coming back in the next week or so. Yeah. You've got Joely, who started throwing, so he's getting close, right? He's probably about a month off. You don't have room on this team for all the pitchers you have. There's going to be some really, really interesting decisions in May. I think that's going to be what we're going to see now, because you could, like, when I was talking about it in my video, I was talking about with Bello, I was like, I could see him being down there for a month or two.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because it gives the Red Sox the opportunity to sort of feel out the rest of the rotation,
right,
without sort of detrimenting his development.
And I think especially with these types of problems, it's not a bad problem at all. And I think especially with the amount of depth, the pitching depth, I'm loving it. Like I think it's great to see the amount of options that the Sox have now are, especially in the rotation. Now, are all the options like top tier options? No, but at the same time, it's nice to be able to have different guys that you can stock down in Worcester and to be able to have some sort of excitement as well.
Oh, 100%. I also think too, one of the things people always talk about this rotation as being terrible, and right now it's not doing itself any favors, but I will say the upside with this rotation is kind of massive, right? Especially if you can get Garrett Whitlock to what the Red Sox, and I think people who think Garrett Whitlock can be a good starting pitcher can be. Tanner Houck becomes a really solid 3-4 type pitcher. Then you wind it out with Paxton or Pavetta.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add in, the pitcher with the highest upside in terms of prospects that we've had since what? Clay Buchholz?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the
Literally.
upside in this rotation is insane. It's just you got to figure out a way to settle it down. And I think that all starts with Chris Sale, who quite literally had his worst start of his career on, what was that, Friday?
Yeah. Yeah, that was really tough to watch. And shout out to Red Sox Nation Stats. He put out on Twitter, quote tweet my tweet this afternoon. Red Sox starters ERA of 6.45 entering today's action. Second worst in the major leagues. Opponents have a 869 OPS versus Boston starters, which is the third highest in the game. I hope that you are enjoying my conversation with Corbin, but I just want to take a second to talk to you about eBay Motors. So for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions may apply. Now let's get back into my conversation with Corbin.
Yeah. And it's insane because you look at this division and you realize that if Corey Kluber is right now, he's 1-4. And obviously wins don't mean a ton when it comes to individual accolades, right? But if you flip that and you make it 4-1, we're talking about fighting for second place or third place in this division.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about being a legitimate contender in this division. Obviously, the Rays are off in another stratosphere right now, but you're talking about a legitimate contender if we just flipped one of these guys, right? If Chris Sale didn't have a 9 ERA right now, you're talking about a second, third place team.
Right. I agree.
For the aspirations that a lot of fans thought this team was going to have going into 2023, being a starter away, being a legitimate, consistent starter away from a contending team is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Regardless
100%.
of whether or not they're 500.
I think it obviously helps with how well the offense has been playing. We spoke about it earlier. And I think especially with, the power that's been showcased. I mean, I thought there was supposed to be no power bats in this lineup outside of Adam Duvall. And now we're seeing Masataka Yoshida, really using those dumbbells that seem to be blown up. I guess they're freaking pumping up his jacks, Yeah,
it's crazy. What Masataka Yoshida is doing right now is silencing a lot of people. He's silencing, and you could see it. If you had been if you were watching every single game this year, you see the potential there. How well he can hold off of these pitches that normal rookies in Major League Baseball, because that's basically what he is, right? He's got baseball experience, but he's a rookie. And he's laying off these pitches and he's making contact with everything. But that swing path was off. He was on top of the ball every single time, So you're starting to see what he can do if he gets under the ball. And it is terrifying if you're not a Red Sox fan.
And I think that's the funny part too, because so many people talked about the batting average, they talked about the walks throughout the offseason, and then they forgot and neglected that he won the home run derby in Japan and hit 19 bombs.
Right.
But I mean, I think it was either Fangraphs or Baseball Reference still projected him at 18 home runs at this point. I mean, he's already got 4, and we're only at the end of April.
Yeah. I think it is not a crazy thing to say he's a 20+ home run player.
Yeah,
it's not. And this is a crazy stat that I found out just researching this series. Over the last 2 series, starting at the beginning of the Milwaukee series, Yoshida came in with a 193 average and an OPS of just 582. He finished in Baltimore with a 276 average and an 832 OPS.
Yeah.
He brought it up 300 points.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's insane.
I don't know if you saw the picture that was going around. I think Fuzzy from like he does YouTube videos too.
Yeah.
He put out the Mookie Betts and Masataka Yoshida like side by side, and like I tweeted it this afternoon. I'm like, if you're a Red Sox fan, you got to be smiling at this.
Yeah, it's a ton of fun to watch. At the very least, the Red Sox are playing very fun baseball. him combined with Duran, that sort of, comeback type mentality that he's had this season. Even Casas is struggling, but when he has like what 10 hits, 6 of them are extra base hits, and 3 of them are home runs. Like, you're starting to see what he could possibly look like, So it's a lot of fun to watch.
And I think like I semi like opposite jinx Jaron Duran with the home run thing yesterday, because I recorded the intro and everything like that for my interview with him for yesterday's episode prior to yesterday's game. And, I said, despite him, not hitting a home run, like it's nice to see him just trying to get on base and not trying to hit a home run every single play. But then he hits a grand slam and goes 3 for 4 as a triple shy from the cycle. So I guess my words semi helped him out. But I think the biggest thing with him, it was really cool to hear his interview after the game, talking all about how he feels a lot more comfortable being able to talk to these different teammates, feel supported, because I think one of the biggest things that was overshadowed, and it was nice that he spoke more about it at the end of last year, was how he struggled with his mental health and how he struggled with the pressure and the failure that he was feeling throughout his second stint, and he felt like he couldn't really talk to anybody. So it was nice to hear that a guy like Alex Verdugo, who was on Team Mexico with him, Kike Hernandez, Justin Turner, have his back and are there to support him.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of the signings this year was to introduce a new culture into essentially a transition period within this Red Sox organization, right? Because in the next couple of years, this team's probably going to look a lot different. Your mainstay is Rafi. We don't know what Tristan's going to be, but you're getting all these rookies coming up. And I think the idea going into the season was, look, let's get some veteran guys in here who are known for their clubhouse presence to sort of be supplemental to these young guys who are coming up for the first, second, third time here. I remember a story, Zach Kelly on opening day, when he had that pass ball and he was super upset with himself. After the game, Kenley Jansen came over after all the meetings and stuff and just sat and talked with him about what it's like to fail at the major league level for 30 minutes.
Wow, that's cool. I didn't know that. I think especially with him, I forget Ceddanne Rafaela. Him and Ceddanne Rafaela became like best buds during spring training, and just his ability to, put guys under his wing, because you always hear like a relief pitcher or a relief pitcher like getting the chance to learn from each other and everything like that. But you don't always hear from a closer, going to a Red Sox top prospect outfielder and being like that. I think it's huge, not only that the Sox have him for 2 years, but especially this season, as you mentioned, with that transition year happening.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people who were relatively positive about this team going into the year were big on, look, this team is going to be propelled or brought down by the vibes in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to go. They're either going to play as one singular unit or they're going to fall apart. And so far, I mean, they're not lighting the world on fire in terms of record, but they're playing together.
Yeah.
You see every single after game interview. It's, Chris Sale has a terrible outing. What was the best start? What was the best thing in your start? My teammates, right? Jaron Duran, after, like you said, saying what's the best part of you coming back and being, better this time around? Well, I'm more comfortable in the clubhouse because of my teammates, right? So, we don't have to believe in them. They have to believe in them. And so far, it's been all right. I think up until this point in the season. But again, you're going to need to start seeing some changes here quickly, or that 500 hump is going to be pretty hard to get over.
Yeah. And I think, for April, semi what I expected. I don't know about you, but I agree with you, especially once you start to get down the stretch of June, July. I mean, we all know how July and August have been for the Red Sox, in 2022 and 2021, not only with injuries, but with COVID as well. And I think that's the stretch when you really got to show what kind of team you are.
Yeah, 100%. And I think they brought in the right pieces to get us through that stretch. The problem's going to be is if they're healthy in June and July, right? Because I mean, you're praying Duvall's back at the end of June. You're praying Story's ready by the end of July.
Yeah.
You're praying Joely comes back on time. You got Paxton, who starting to figure it out in the minor leagues, but isn't in I don't think anyone's opinion ready for Major League Baseball yet. You got that Wyatt Mills, who could be a pretty big contributor in the bullpen.
Don't forget about
So
Mondesi either.
yeah, Mondesi at the end of May. So it's like, it's going to be interesting come June or July because it's like, what is this? This Red Sox team that we're seeing right now is 80% of what we're going to see in June or July. So
Yeah. I think especially the
500.
middle infield too. Like it's going to be very interesting how the middle infield looks after August, like after the
Mhm.
trade deadline passes, because I mean, obviously we're still in April at this moment in time. I mean, if Christian Arroyo doesn't pick it up by June or July, I think you got to figure out like a namestay at second base and not just keep having it be a cycle. You know, Kike go over there when you're not in center field, or Jaron's out there, or keep on bringing up Manuel Valdez or putting Yu Chang over there. Praying he does something at the plate outside of his spectacular plays on defense.
Yeah, I think the middle infield is definitely the most interesting part of the sort of equation here going forward because you have two guys coming back. I mean, Yu Chang was never really going to be a long-term solution in the
Right,
middle
right, right.
infield, but of course he's going to come back at some point. And Kike started the year very interestingly on defense, right? It was what, 5 errors before he had 5 hits.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
but he's heated up at the plate a little bit. You're starting to see the defense come around a little bit. And then you're getting back Mondesi, who is primarily a second base or a shortstop, right? But he could play some second base if he needed to. I don't know how. I think he's definitely had experience at third base. I don't know exactly how much experience he had at second base, but with Christian Arroyo, how much time do you give him before it's like, okay, we gave you the opportunity to be a starter. It didn't entirely work out. You are a fantastic utility piece. We're going to
Yeah,
keep you here because I think there's still room for Christian Arroyo on this team. It's just a matter of
100%.
whether or not he's a starter. And
Yeah.
again, it's still April, right? He's never been a starting player in his entire life. He's got time to turn it around.
I hope that you are enjoying my conversation with Corbin, but today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. So I don't know about you, but I'm somebody who really cares about my mental health. If you're watching the video version, I have a Mental Health Matters hat on, and this is something where I've dealt with mental health struggles throughout my life, and therapy has been a huge part of helping me figure out ways to improve my mental health, different practices to be able to help relieve anxiety in different aspects of mental health as well. And it's also a great way to learn how to be more self-aware and discover who you are, as well as what you want and why you react to different things. And it's always nice to be able to have somebody else other than your parents or your friends to be able to talk to, who don't have a preconceived opinion or something like that. And I feel like, especially with therapy, the biggest thing that takes people away from therapy is not being able to find a therapist near them, find the right price, be able to switch therapists as well. It isn't easy either. But I'm somebody who's been with multiple different therapists, and it's been a really gratifying experience for me. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned about my passions and who I truly want to be on this earth. And I think that's really important to figure out. And I think therapy is something that everybody should try and get involved in if you're open to it. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try, because it's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. And also, all you have to do is just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. And that is something that, I don't know about you, I'm definitely going to check out, because I need a new therapist myself. So discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonmlb today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonmlb. Now let's get back into my conversation with Corbin. And also, he's been down for a little bit, and got a pinch hit opportunity with two of the bats in this past game. But I was just hoping for more. But I mean, I guess a lot of people say that in April, especially with baseball just coming back. So I guess I'll have to come back to this conversation in June or something like that. But I think that is the biggest thing that is really interesting about this current team is what will that middle infield look like when all those guys do come back. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited to where there's a time where everybody is healthy on the Red Sox. It's not sort of this thing that we've been going through all of April of, oh, I can't wait until so and so comes back. And I feel like luckily it's not like this, but like obviously the last like 2 or 3 years, it's like, oh, when Chris Sale comes back, like that's a savior. Like I just hate waiting on people to come back to where like this team is like fully healthy and like fully ready
Mhm.
to like fully compete, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's been a bit frustrating the last couple of years because realistically, the last couple of years you've been sort of waiting for Chris Sale,
Yeah.
right? There hasn't been any other real major injuries that I can remember being like, if we can get to this point without this guy, we'll be fine going forward. But Chris Sale has definitely been the guy you've been waiting for. Now it's sort of like, okay, how do we piece the team together until Story and Duvall get back? And on top of that, what are Story and Duvall going to look like? Because Duvall was insane, like other world legendary the first week of the season. What are the chances he comes back and he goes back on the legendary pace? Right, it's probably not fantastic, but those are two guys who can give you a lot of power from the right hand side, something you just don't have right now.
So Gordo and I talked about this a few days ago. I'm curious your thoughts. We get to like June and Adam Duvall comes back and Jaron Duran is like hitting like over 300. You know, he's setting the world on fire. Like defense looks good. Like you're not going to take him out of that position.
It's a hard question to answer because lineup wise, right? You got to put Duvall in there
Yeah,
somewhere. Turner's been fantastic at
he
DH so
has.
far this year.
Yeah.
Just in terms of legitimate protection for Rafael Devers, you can't take Justin Turner out of the lineup. So, and I get asked this 100 times a day. I do live streams every Wednesday on my channel, and I had that question asked probably like 35, 40 times. My answer was always the same. I think what you need to do when Duvall comes back is start off platooning them, right? Start off, especially because we don't know what Jaron Rand's going to look like. But if he's doing what you said he's doing, platoon him and kind of let him battle it out
Yeah.
on the field. See which one starts performing better. And if there's a week where Adam Duvall is hitting the way he was hitting to begin the season, you're playing him every day. Oh, he's cooled down. All right, Duran, you're back in against righties, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort of how you run it.
I think Tapia's already won that competition with Duran, even though he's only been up here for a week.
You think Tapia is
Or
better?
Duran has won
Yes.
that competition. I mean, I said the
Yeah.
wrong way.
Yeah. I just start the season. That was the right move, right? You wanted Duran to get everyday
100%.
ABs. You knew what Tapia was going to be. But yeah, Duran came up here lighting the world on fire. I think at this point, Tapia is expendable because even if Jaron Duran does cool off, he's still going to be hitting about what Raimel Tapia was giving you. I don't know Raimel Tapia's exact statistics right now, but it can't exactly be fantastic.
No, I don't think so. This will make you laugh. Jaron Duran actually played second base when he was in the minors in 2019, so they could put him there. No, I'm kidding.
Throw him in second.
Yeah,
you'd be surprised, man. It is like a huge topic of conversation. People want him there.
Yeah,
people were like, put him at second base. I mean, you could give it a shot, I guess, but now's not the time to do that. I don't think.
Well, so when I was watching the Portland Sea Dogs and Don Rafael was getting reps at like shortstop, like I posted a video on Twitter and people are like, get him up here right now, like. But like when their play-by-play announcer said, they play him there once or twice a week, I was like, wait, say that again? Like, could we see Rafael up here at shortstop? I'm like, all right, but I mean, I think obviously keep Duran in center field. Don't like get him confused with defense and stuff. But we all know how much this front office loves to freaking move people around.
Hey, Duran's looking a lot better defensively. Did you see that play he had during this series?
That was
play
unbelievable.
Against Chris Sale, just saved Chris Sale from like a 10-run game. Duran, that was the best catch I've seen Duran make in a Red Sox uniform, no question. But just even the routine ones last year, it was like, let's go into center field. Where's it going to land, right? Yeah. This year, it's kind of like, all right, Duran, you're doing it. The routes look a lot better. The jumps look a lot better. I think he's genuinely coming into his own, which is fantastic.
I was when I was like making preview videos like this morning and was looking through some of his highlights from like 2021 and 2022, and it's like kind of like heartbreaking to like see like how different of a person he is. Just seeing him and his energy, it was so different outside of in 2021 when he had that inside the park home run. Like outside of that, like it was just a completely different sort of energy than you see right now. I think you can't not love to see that and be excited about the future of all these young guys being able to show what they got. But the Sox got the Guardians coming up next. Shane Bieber, Nick Pivetta on the mound for game one tomorrow, or on Friday, excuse me. But curious what you think about that Guardian series.
It's going to be really interesting. The Guardians have a fairly similar record to you. They're second in their division because everywhere else in the entire Major League Baseball, the Red Sox would not be in last place. And you're kind of evenly matched, right?
Yeah.
A little bit, you are. The Red Sox are definitely been better offensively this year, but the Guardians have, they've got Shane Bieber. They've got, is Tristan McKenzie still on the IL?
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't
you've
want to
got
know.
some,
I don't keep close tabs on them, honestly.
I think they're kind of a team I forget about until it's
Yeah.
like playoff time, and you're like, ah, crap,
Honestly,
we got
yeah.
the Guardians. Yeah.
Well, I mean, when they made the playoffs last year, I was like, wait, the Guardians made it?
Yeah, and they kind of smoked that division too,
Yeah,
but you don't think of
did.
them as a legitimate contender.
Yeah. Well, so with Shane Bieber, obviously Shane Bieber, but I thought this was interesting. I didn't know this. In 5 games in 4 starts, he has a 6.21 ERA against the Red Sox, a 2-3 record, and has allowed 20 earned runs, over 23 strikeouts, against the Sox, which I didn't know that. That's awesome to know. Hope it works out.
Yeah, and he's been pretty good this year. But yeah, the Red Sox have this weird thing where they just kind of own really good pitchers, except for like Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
Like Garrett Cole dominates everyone else, but gets crushed by the Red Sox. You got Bieber who gets crushed by the Red Sox. True. You got Alek Manoah doesn't do fantastic against the Red Sox either, and he was what, second or third? Do
you think he's gonna get hit by Alex Verdugo when they face each other next?
God, I hope. We need a fight. When was the last time? This sounds terrible, but we do. We need a brawl. When was the last time we saw
Joe
a brawl
Kelly.
at Fenway Park? That's what I
Like,
thought too. We've seen like dust ups and stuff, but when was the last time they someone charged the mound?
Yeah, we gotta see something. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like there's the energy. There's like that like hate energy like we used to have with the Rays and the Red Sox. Like it used to be like that a few years ago. Kind of with the Blue Jays a few years ago. I can't really think of a team right now that the Sox have that like hatred towards.
I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays beat up on us constantly.
I hope so.
And you got guys like Alek Manoah. I don't like Bo Bichette. I don't think the Red Sox like Bo Bichette. So it's like you got these guys that definitely you could see the hatred boiling. Yeah. I'd love to see that because I hate watching the Red Sox play the Blue Jays.
all I'm thinking about is just Manoah hits Verdugo and they just go back and forth because they both have huge mouths. But nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, but it's just all about the entertainment at this point.
And you know what fires up a team? Beating the crap out of another team physically.
Yeah, I agree.
But as for the Guardian series, I think it'll be really interesting because it's kind of very similar paths so far this year. Just taking a look at the 3 games we're playing against them. You've got Pivetta, you've got Whitlock, you've got Sale, and then they're putting out Plesac. You talked about Bieber and this guy LT Allen. I don't think I've heard of him yet.
Yeah.
Logan Allen. Okay.
He shoved in his debut, and I saw him pitch against the WooSox in AAA, and he's really good. Yeah.
So you kind of got this again, the pitching versus the offense. Which one's gonna win? And we're back home, which is fantastic. So
Sox got to steal the guy who is grabbing all these pitching prospects. Seriously, bro. The Sox got to steal that guy.
The Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays, it's like they just pluck him out of thin air.
So the Marlins got the Astros guy. Like, and when I saw that he was like up for grabs, I was like, Heim, grab him, steal him. We need more pitching prospects.
No, we need it so bad. I love Murphy. I think Murphy could be a legitimate, sort of back of the rotation type guy.
I like Walter too. Walter's good.
Yeah,
Mata's a bullpen arm. Mata's a bullpen
I think
arm.
So. Yeah. How's he doing so far this year? Because he's not great. Good. So I saw one game where he hit like 5 dudes in a row or something.
I was working that game. That was
really?
That was kind of crazy. But every single game that I've worked and he's pitched, he's at least walked 4 to 5 guys. I think somebody told me yesterday that his walk per 9 is like 9. Like it's crazy. Like
that's not great.
You just can't start doing that type of stuff. But so with the Guardian series, what are you thinking? I'm thinking I mean with these pitching matchups and with how close these teams are, I'm saying 2 out of 3. Sox win 2 out of 3.
I like it. Every time I say the Red Sox are going to win a series, they lose the series. So I'm kind of nervous to say they're going to win 2 out of 3. But it does. I mean, it lines up, right? If Sale can give you a decent start, Whitlock against the Guardians, I actually really like that matchup.
Yeah.
I think his stuff plays really well against a team that makes a lot of contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pavetta, God knows, but at least we do know he probably keep you in the game, right? It could be 5 runs, it could be no runs,
Hope
but he'll
so.
probably try and keep you in a game. So yeah, I would agree. You know what? I'm gonna go sweep.
I like it going Jake Yossi style. And then I just clicked over. Blue Jays May 1st. Hopefully something happens with that. You know, that we previewed the Guardians and we previewed the Blue Jays series too.
I wonder, just real quick before we run out of time. Oh, they don't have it up. I was gonna say, I
No, yeah,
wonder
it
if they
says
have.
TBD.
Yeah,
Yeah, they whoever I'm blanking on who the coach is. He's a manager who I can't remember his name, but he just needs to make sure Alec Manoah is starting at some point. That's all I
yeah.
care about.
Just throw them in there.
Just
Throw them in
throw
there
him
on
in
3 days rest for us.
I love it. But appreciate you coming on, Corbin, for
Of course,
all your
anytime.
insight. Had a lot of fun, talking Sox as I always do. But for anybody who wants to check out the YouTube channel and support your stuff, where can they find all that stuff?
Red Seat Radio on everything. It's Red Seat Radio, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever you guys want to follow me on, I will be there talking
Love it.
Sox almost every single day.
And also you do a live stream on Wednesdays.
Yeah, every Wednesday, or unless it's a day game,
Oh, okay.
and then I'll switch it up. But I say every Wednesdays because it really is most Wednesdays.
So everybody go check that out. And luckily your videos are around 10 minutes or so. So, right after you listen to Locked On while you're driving in the car and you get home and you want to watch some Red Sox YouTube videos, put on Red Seat Radio. But appreciate you coming on, Corbin.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure.
I hope that you did enjoy my conversation with Corbin. Got a little bit more insight on, some of the positives that came out of this Orioles series as well as got a few laughs in there. I think it was a fun conversation, especially there at the end, starting to preview the Blue Jays series and the rivalry that the Sox could have with that team and, potential brawl or something like that between Alex Verdugo and Alec Manoah. I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm super happy that, fun baseball is back. And, the Sox are winning, even though, they didn't win in their last game. They're stacking up the W's and they're looking a lot better than, at least I expected them to so far in April. But if you want to stay up to date with everything that is happening with the Boston Red Sox 5 days a week, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Red Sox over on YouTube or whatever audio platform that you listen to. And also, we want to thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen of every single day. And for my everydayers, tomorrow on the show, we have a very special guest in Red Sox top prospect, Nick York. I talked to him a little bit about how he's enjoyed his time with the Red Sox thus far and how he's really been trying to work on his swing and work on his approach going into this season now with the Portland Sea Dogs. So make sure to check in tomorrow for that lengthy interview. And also, I greatly appreciate everybody's support over this last week or so with all these different guests. It's been a lot of fun being able to bring on different faces and in different perspectives as well, to be able to talk about this team and go different avenues and look at different topics. And it's been a lot of fun to be able to interact with different people in the Red Sox community as well. But I hope you're excited for the not only the Nick York interview, but also what's to come over these next few weeks or so over on the Locked On Red Sox podcast. But if you want to stay up to date with everything that is happening on this podcast, follow us over on Twitter. It's LO_Red Sox. Also follow myself. It's at Jake Iggy. And also my co-host Lauren is La 3 Laws, Lauren with 4 R's. But as always, we greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And we'll end this episode how we always end it. Keep the faith and let's go Sox. Peace.